Yeah, so yeah, that's another thing we'd like to talk about. So is it really since the election of President Trump that
Mhm.
the political landscape has kind of changed and things have started to roll back? We're seeing that here in the UK and Ireland. There's a lot of fear because
Wow.
we usually look to America for kind of what's going to happen in our future, and usually it
Sure.
happens in America first. And we are starting to experience a lot of backlash, particularly against the trans people and companies and organizations that would have been hiring us to come and do talks and things, and they would have posted that on their social media. They're still getting us to come, but it's on the QT, on the quiet.
hmm
Is that a similar experience for yourself?
Yeah, my work, which I feel is my legacy, has been really affected, I would say, the last year and a half or so. I was doing really well. COVID hit and I lost my entire lecture tour. And I thought, well, I could either sit and cry or do something about it. So everything went, my computer screen's here, everything went virtual. And I was able to put my pulse film online. And so I reworked it. And I think a lot of those companies and corporations that I spoke to and schools found out, wow, we don't have to fly somebody there or put them up in a hotel. It kind of worked good. So that lingered on after COVID. We had, was eased up. But then, President Trump came in and all this anti-DEI. So I will tell you, so usually June and October are big months for me. June is, of course, Pride Month. October here in the States is LGBTQ plus History Month. Those are my two busiest months. And usually around the holidays, it's a little bit lax because it's the holidays. Um, my career has taken a big hit because one, the schools, the universities and colleges I used to speak to, I mean, I still do, but now they've been warned by the federal government that if you support anything DEI or LGBTQ plus, we're going to take away your funding for your activities, like your student activity fund, which I used to be in charge of back in the day of when I was director of student life. I know how that works. So I don't get a lot of those gigs from schools and universities anymore. So it's very sad and disheartening and makes me angry that a lot of those college students that are seeking that maybe that first taste of community and in being out, they don't have those resources. And then the corporations and companies that used to hire me, that I go back every year with their ERG groups and things like that. I don't hear a lot from them anymore because they're worried about um, the federal government coming after them. So last, I'll give you some statistics of that. Last June, my numbers were down 90%.
Wow.
And last October, it was about 93%. So, you're kind of living on a shoestring budget. I still have faith in humanity and people. Even though you turn on the news every day, it's something new here in the States, something crazy has gone on. I worry for the LGBTQ plus community, not only here in America, but around the world. I see some real atrocities going on, especially for our trans community. And I hear from other people like I don't get the people say I don't get the trans thing. What's the difference between trans and drag queen? I hear all this all the time. And I always say, educate yourself. Sit down with somebody that's trans and have a conversation.
Yeah.
Don't be judgmental. Same goes for anybody in your community. If you don't understand, then put down your cell phone, look up, and have your conversation face to face.
Yeah.
So we need to be there for one another now. We need to be there in solidarity. I think some people have lost hope, um, and we need more young people, more people to be activists and advocates out there, more allies to be out there for us and be there. It's I'm trying to get by doing consultation and podcasts and different things. So it's a chore. And I had initially a year ago, I had DEI in my title. And my one agency said to me, I want to give you a suggestion because we're seeing a trend here. You might want to get rid of DEI if you want to get hired anywhere. I've never been told that. So he put it like this. He goes, have you ever seen the movie Troy? And I said, yeah. He goes, remember the Trojan horse that was at the wall? I said, yeah. He says, well, think of yourself as a Trojan horse. So I'm like, okay, where is he going with this? He goes, you're the same on the inside and what you're talking about, but how you appear is different on the outside. Like, I got what you mean. So I changed it all up. I spent thousands of dollars on new marketing and things like that, and it still hasn't been like good enough. So I'm plugging away. I'm hopeful. I'm glad to be still inspiring people and doing what I feel is my journey. Um, I haven't had any backlash government wise or anything, but I keep my wits about me.
Absolutely. And I read this part of your work is about body shaming. You cover that the issue of body shaming. Is that particularly from your own experiences from within the gay community, or is that in general?
The body shaming happened when I was a kid. My mother was very attractive. She ran for we have like Miss America contest here, and my mom ran for Miss Michigan. She was very beautiful. She valedictorian of her class. So when you had a chubby kid, that's not what she wanted. So I remember my cousin brought this up to me years ago. My mom used to open up a catalog that had a lot of male models in it, or like clothing, and she would cut the male. I'm doing this. She would cut the male model out of it, chop the head off, put it on the refrigerator, and take my school picture, cut it out, and put my head on top of that male model, and say, "That's the son that I want." And
Wow.
and I was body shamed by my parents terribly. My brother was my biggest bully growing up. By my own gay community, I don't know. I always used humor to get by, so I guess I was the funny chubby kid. Um, and growing up, sure, I wanted to be thinner at the time, and I tried everything to kind of cover that up and lose weight or do something. I wasn't successful back in the 90s, early 2000. I think I lost weight one time on this weird weight loss thing, but I gained it back. Uh, but I didn't feel shamed by that community because, you know, there's people of all shapes and sizes in our community. And if you like the big boys, come on over, come talk to me. I didn't even know about the bear community until I moved to Chicago. I mean, geez. So I was like, ooh, my crowd,
Yep.
Um,
Game
I
changer.
yeah, I know. I thought, wow, I found my tribe.
Yeah.
Uh, I lost 80 pounds though between 2006 and 7. I wanted to be more healthy, and I work at it every day, and it's much better. But as you and I both know, the LGBTQ plus community, a lot, especially gay men, are very centered on physicalities, muscles, pecs, butt, all sorts of things, what they like. Um, and it's kind of a throwaway community at times. They always want something bigger and better, or newly improved. And we need to work better on that. I'm not saying everybody is like that, but the superficiality and things, the clothing. I have friends that are in their 20s that are getting Botox and things like that. Like, oh my God, where did this all happen? Um, and to each his own, but be happy with who you are and get to know somebody. I've always been big on chemistry and connection and personality, probably because I was that chubby kid growing up, but I really value for somebody and I'm attracted to them who they are on the inside. Now, does it mean that I'm not interested on the outside? Of course I'm interested on the outside, but I don't need all those things that a laundry list of things, but
Mm,
yeah,
yeah, absolutely. And considering it sounds like there's bigger fish to fry, because considering at the minute in the world there's over 60 countries that have criminalized homosexuality again, and some of them are it's the death penalty, some
yeah,
of them it's life imprisonment, and it's in all of them it's just not a good time, particularly for men. And again, women are invisible in that a lot of the time. Probably in that situation, it's lucky for them, but still not great for women to come out in those
oh,
countries either. So I think we have a long way to go.
oh, a long way. I mean, you would think at 2026 we've progressed well, and I think we were doing okay, but then, especially United States, it's a very, I'm speaking to you when we're invading other countries, and it's crazy, and it really drains the soul of America, to be honest with you.
Well, to sort of bring it back to a positive note, I always when we get onto this topic and this conversation, I always remind people that every situation is only temporary.
Absolutely.
Presidents and governments are only temporary, and dictatorships come and go, and we'll still be here to continue supporting each other as a community.
Sure. I
Um,
always tell people keep up the good fight.
yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing, be positive. I have friends that are like, they'll say to me, like, how can you post these positive quotes on Facebook and be so positive? And I would say, well, what's the other alternative?
Yeah.
I don't want to choose that.
Yeah.
Uh, and I try to influence them, and probably one of the reasons I do what I do.
So, Greg, did you find out any more information when you were covering the Matthew Shepard story? Because there's a lot of information on the internet now, in the aftermath and the years afterwards, and some defamatory things that people are saying that Matthew was a drug dealer and
Yeah.
things like that. And there's just so much misinformation and bad information. It's hard to know what to believe. What did your documentary find out? You were talking directly to Matthew's family.
I have worked with Matthew's family in lectures. I'm friends with Judy Shepard and her husband Dennis, so I've known them. Uh, you know, Years later, people are saying, "Oh, it was a drug deal gone bad." I heard that many times. It was a drug deal gone bad. It was not a drug deal gone bad. Um, One, when Matthew was at the Wayside Bar and met Henderson and McKinney, who killed him, Henderson and McKinney went into the bathroom to conjure up a story like, we're going to act like we're gay. You'll lower him out to our truck. And Matt was playing pool. He had just come from a meeting at the University of Wyoming, only one university in Wyoming, by the way, and which he was having a beer afterwards. So he was thin. He was blonde hair guy, short. He was dressed with a tie. He always liked to dress up. So here you're at, a bar in Laramie, Wyoming, and Henderson and McKinney come in with jeans and shirt, and here Matthew looks like he's running for president. So they pegged him right away. And Matthew talked to him. And Matthew did not know them. It was a small town, but you got to remember this happened in October. Matthew had only been back in Laramie because he was living down um, in Denver for a while. So Matthew had started school right around the end of August, 1st of September. So not a lot of time to get to know people. Um, so Henderson and McKinney came up with this idea. Well, when they lured him out to the truck, because Matt wanted to ride home. He lived nearby, and they offered it. Well, they started going out of town, and Matt goes, "This is not the way home." And Henderson goes, "Well, we're not gay, and you've been jacked." And they went out to an area where Henderson used to live. There's a few houses. I'm doing this. Few houses way out in this stretch of what would be the east side of Laramie, and they knew where that fence was at. They knew where the two track was at. So, and that's when they beat him up. And Matt had $20 in his wallet. That was it. So it progressed. And, um, McKinney was signing, when they were in jail after they'd been found and what they had done, McKinney was signing autographs in jail because he was joking that he had killed a gay guy. I'm not using the derogatory term, but he was signing autographs in jail. Meanwhile, you have a family without their son. And it came at a point in our lives here, and I'm going to say this just in America, that we really didn't have a cause. There was nothing really going on for LGBTQ plus rights. It was just kind of sitting there. And when this happened, you had a attractive white kid, a petite white kid in college, in cowboy country. You couldn't write the, I mean, it's like a script for a movie. You couldn't write it. And the drama that involved with that and the layers of it was just, it blew out. And, the media blew it way out of the water as well with the information. So when we were there and talked to a lot of people, one of the findings that I will tell you that we found, Elizabeth Vargas, she's a news reporter, national here. She, I don't think I've seen her on TV before, like in a while, but she did a show called 2020. And she was going to come out to Laramie. She came out to Laramie, Wyoming, right around in 2000, oh my gosh, 2003 or four. And she wanted to go out and find out the real reason that Matt was killed on the fence. And this is what started all of it. And one thing, because this is what we found out, Elizabeth Vargas's producer sent her out there, and the producer was friends with Henderson. So Henderson and McKinney are in prison. They're in separate prison. But the producer was friends with the lawyer of Henderson. And Henderson was making an appeal to get his 2 consecutive life sentences erased. So they thought, well, we're going to do this expose and send out one of our reporters. There was a stipulation when they were sent to prison that they were not to talk to reporters, have no dialogue, couldn't write a book, nothing. And some loophole was found, and they ended up interviewing them on this 2020 broadcast. But Elizabeth Vargas came out to Laramie and interviewed some of these people. And one particular person, I think his name was Doc, pardon me, was a limo driver, used to drive Matt around, and said, "Oh yeah, Matt knew Henderson McKinney, probably from parties and stuff there. I don't know how well he knew him, but he identified him. He knew like they were there." And he goes, "It probably could have been a drug deal gone bad. I don't know." But the producer told Elizabeth Vargas, "I want you to pursue this news story about Matt as if it was a drug deal gone bad."
Wow.
So she talked to the police officer that was directly involved with the murder. And she sat at a table with them. And the sheriff said, "What's the reason why you're here?" "Oh, we're just kind of looking into more details and interviewing people." And they did the interview. Well, then they left, and Elizabeth Vargas left her script on that table. And he looked at it, and it said, "Pursue this as if it was a drug deal gone bad. We need a rating spike." And Elizabeth Vargas was going out of town in a car, being driven by somebody, and the sheriff called her and said, "Just want to let you know you left your script here on my dining room table. You might want to come back in it." And like they did a Huey and came back and was horrified that that got leaked out. So that's where all of that came from. But in the long run, Joe, what you're looking at is you have a mother and father that's without a son, and he was beaten tragically on a fence. And it really
Yes, just
spearheaded a huge movement till to this day, um, about hate crimes.
Yep, and just for any listeners or viewers who aren't familiar with Matthew's story, just in a nutshell, he was lured out of the bar by those two guys and beaten, stripped, and tied to a fence in the middle of a rural area and left to die. Basically, if he had been found, he may have lived, but he was there still tied the next morning until someone discovered him the next morning.
Yeah, there was Aaron Kreifels was on a bike and he was coming down a bike trail, and he looked off in the distance, and it was close to Halloween time. It was like right around October 8th, I believe, or 9th. And he looked over and he thought it was a scarecrow on a fence. And he got closer and it was Matt tied, to a split rail fence. And they had beat him so bad, he had brain injuries and all sorts of, he never would have survived. Yeah, he would have been a vegetable, in bed. So
And so yeah, that's when people say, why do you need Pride? Why do you need LGBT History Month? For this reason. So this
absolutely. And the
doesn't happen.
thing we need to remember too is our Black and Brown communities have been affected, our trans community. There's been Matthew Shepard, but we got to remember uh, all the people in our community that have had hate crimes, or
Yeah,
we're afraid to speak from having hate against them, or have been killed. So we got to remember everybody, not just the petite white boy, from Laramie, Wyoming.
absolutely. Tragically, there are multiple stories right across the board from every letter, the LGBTQIA plus.
Right.
Um, and that is the reason why you do what you do, and what we're doing as well is we're documenting and recording, and making sure that we raise awareness.
That's
So
fantastic.
hopefully,
You do that. It takes a lot of us to do the work of, big or small, whatever you can do.
absolutely. So Greg, what have you got coming up? Where can people find more about your work, or what events are you planning for the future?
If you follow me on, and I was told like it's only for old people now, but excuse me, if you follow me on Facebook,
Facebook,
uh,
yep.
it's it's Greg R. Baird, or you can find me on my website at gregrbaird.com. And I'm also on TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky. I'm sure I'm missing one of them, but it's Gregor Speaks. Yeah.
Excellent.
And thanks for putting up with this cold, this craziness, and I was praying that it would be fine during our chat, but you know,
Not a problem.
yeah.
Not a problem. Uh,
But yeah, if any of your listeners have questions or anything, get a hold of me. Um, you can find all those links and things like that. And I put vlogs up on all of those sites on Monday and Thursday, um, right from my home, and I do some remote things as well. I have some more podcasts coming up, a few more lectures I'm working at, and doing, but they're sparse, but they're there, and I'm still holding the fight as long as I can. So
Absolutely. And so Greg, just a final message. Are you hopeful for the future?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, there's a lot of hope for the future, and I tell people, you know, get off the TV. And my best friend is on the TV all the time watching the news. Turn it off.
Yeah.
Get out. See people. Spread love. Spread joy. Spread unconditional friendship. Have conversations. Not everything you need to do is done through a text message or on the phones. Like sit down with people and have a conversation. Go to the pub. Go for a coffee, movie, or whatever. Enjoy your life. The waves of the world will heal themselves. I truly believe that.
Yeah.
What's happening in the United States right now and other countries is temporary. Doesn't feel like it, but it is. We gotta have hope.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're 100% right.
Yeah,
And Greg, we really appreciate your time coming on and giving us the American perspective of what it's like at the minute. And We thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. I'm I'm honored that you had me on here and give you a little insight what's going on in our country, because I know I get asked all the time, like, what in the world is going on in the United States? I'm like, how much time do you have right now? So yeah, so thank you very much.
Excellent. Okay, we'll see you soon in the near future, hopefully.
Okay, yes, I agree, and thank you so much.
Thanks, Greg. Bye bye.
Bye.